you can sell today and you've been selling your whole life. Take the pressure off yourself and just let people know you're here to help them and let the rest take its own path.
This podcast encourages and empowers you to create your own unique real story, develop your own unique real statement, and discover your own unique real self. The power is yours. Good afternoon, Jim Padilla. Previously, episode 1373 of the 12-Minute Convos podcast. It's been just 2 years, 3 months, 7 days, 17 hours, and 15 minutes since we last recorded that conversation. Then we met on August 4, 2018, face to face. This guy is real. He's the real deal. Jim, that was then. This is now. How are you doing today?
Onward and upward, man. We have gone through so many changes. You know, when you start climbing, you have to shed things, right? To go to new levels, there's things that have to come with you, and you start learning that what got you here won't get you there.
That's awesome.
It's been fun.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Well, yeah, let's unfold that. Now, last time we spoke, the podcast was going, Sales Unscripted. There was just a ton of things, sales outsourcing was going on. How have things evolved today?
It's great. We're still in that lane, but we've also started hiring salespeople. We've become a sales recruiting service for smaller businesses. And then we're also just growing a lot of resources for salespeople.
There's an interesting way that you have conversation that builds around focusing on the other person and who they are and what they do, my friend. In the midst of that, there is a voice that you have to listen to, as well as the other voices that are in action. How are you able, Jim, to continue discerning which is the correct voice to listen to?
Yeah, it's really, without getting too spiritual, it's really it has to do with being in the present. Because if your voice is coming from what happened, then you're fearing, you're regretting something in the past, or you're making a decision based on it. If your voice is speaking to concerns about what might happen, then you're worried about something in the future, which is pointless, as opposed to being in the present. So when the voice in your head is speaking to what's happening right now, then you know you're in the right spot. That's the path to follow.
It sounds as though you got excited about that. It seems to be something you've uncovered, isn't it? It's a truth, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, your wife was launching her brand when we spoke last in San Francisco. How has things evolved with her? How has what you've been doing impacted her?
She still has that, but she's really, we've just kind of focused differently on leading the business so that it can provide opportunities for other people. So we've actually been growing more leaders in our company to run things in our company so that we could be free to be like in our mission field, to be serving God more powerfully.
You spoke about your daughter, right? Of course, they are the other children, right? In the midst of it, right? How have they been impacted by everything that's going and growing?
Well, one of the biggest blessings is that we now, since we've spoken, we have 2 grandsons now.
Wow. Congratulations.
And Cindy gets to watch, on Tuesdays, she watches our 5-month-old grandson. And on Thursdays, she watches our 15-month-old grandson. And we're able to do that because of the powers and the blessing that this business provides. And she is in heaven. We get to see them every week. We're literally integrated as a part of our grandkids' lives. And we get to be that presence and that role model for them. And that's the biggest blessing of all.
My father, I almost said my grandfather, but my father, he always says, if he knew how great grandchildren were, he would have had them first.
Yes, I heard somebody say that just recently.
In the midst of things, there's so many budding entrepreneurs. There's so many entrepreneurs who are doing the work every single day. Please give them the first step, at least how they can enter into what is sales efficiently and effectively so that they can maintain that happiness that goes with balance.
Yeah, you have to stop looking at sales as something else and start just looking at sales as just who you're being. We look at, the part of the reason my podcast is called Sales Unscripted is because I believe sales is a spectrum. On one end of the spectrum is you know nothing about what you're doing, and so you need to have a perfectly lined out step-by-step process. On the other end is you know so well what you're doing that you don't need to follow the script because you are the script. You just know how to engage with people who you're ideally suited to serve. And here's the good news. All of you have it. 100% of us have that. So you just got to find that spot. What is that place where you're the total expert and total comfort and total on fire? And who are those people? that pull that out of you. And then when you're talking to those people, you barely even need a system or a script. I know I'm going to get a lot of haters on that, but that's just the way it is, because that's when you're in natural flow.
Yeah, you said that when we spoke, it's not about saying and doing, but who you are being while you're saying and doing. Has that evolved in terms of what you've experienced?
Yeah, I believe it more now than I ever have. So yeah, we've our business and our life is just living proof of it.
You showed up. You're early for the conversation. You did when we were in San Francisco. You did when we had our first podcast conversation. Your mother told you something, right? Get good at
Yes.
waiting for people, because you aren't going to make anyone late.
Yes.
How much of the ethics part of what goes with sale is important in today's world?
All of it, it's all about enhancing who you're being. So everything you're doing, from technology to support to hiring people to the vision, it all needs to be in service to helping you be the best you. Because ultimately, for you to get people to make great decisions around you, you have to elevate them to a place where they can see above all the mess that they're in. The only way they're going to get there is if you're there.
There's a conversation that some of us run from, and it's the reality that it is possible that you and or I could die today or tomorrow. In the midst of everything, in the midst of the planning, in the midst of going forward, in the midst of having children, grandchildren now, is that something that's in the forefront of your thoughts or in the back end?
It's a forefront, especially given that, this recent tragedy with Kobe Bryant. Massive reminder, you could die in a helicopter crash tomorrow. I mean, you don't know. Tomorrow is promised to nobody. So you need to make sure that if you look back over today, did you do everything you could to help as many as you could, as well as you could? As long as you did, then you got nothing to trip on. If not, but there's no time to delay. Stop delaying. Stop making excuses. Go out and seize the moment.
In the snippet of this conversation, a person can come in and at this particular point in time, they can hear, Jim Padilla, the guy who's done it, right? The guy who's doing the work, the guy that his speech is amazing. Is it possible that the people that are listening can do what you've done, Jim?
100%. I'm just a 5'8" Puerto Rican from the Bronx, man. The only difference between me and you is I've done it 10,000 times. You just got to get out doing it. Do it messy and do it imperfectly. Just make sure you're doing it. And the more you get in action, the more stumbling and you fall, you start building a muscle that says, oh, I know how to fall and not kill myself. So let me go try it again. Then pretty soon you get really good at determining what are the things that make you fall and how to avoid them. And then pretty soon you're taking all the right chances and the right risks because you're rewarding yourself with results based on the actions you take. But it's got to start first with being willing to move and just trusting that you're doing the right thing.
Where's the best place for someone that's listening to connect with you, Jim?
You can find me at Jim P, Jimp like Padilla, JimP360.com. And at that spot, you connect with me any way you want to. All of our social platforms are there. Click on the contacts button, hit the text button to shoot me a text and say hello. I'd love to hear from you and see what I can do to help you.
Jim, when you look back, wow, how does it make you feel?
It's incredible. We're blessed. Everything we're doing is just complete blessing and gift from God. I'm glad to be born at this time, in this country, in this opportunity, where I have so much at my disposal to be able to help so many people, and it's awesome.
I want to say thank you, my friend, because everything that you've learned, Jim, you did not have to go out there and share. You could have kept it to yourself, right? You could have said, okay, I'm only sharing this with my family. But you've decided to give service to humanity in the midst of it all. Of course, yeah, there is the business, but there's a level of service that you've decided to take on. I want to say thank you for that, and well done, my friend. In closing, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
I just want to remind everybody that sales, you can sell today, and you've been selling your whole life. Take the pressure off yourself and just let people know you're here to help them, and let the rest take its own path.
Jim Padilla, folks. My friend, a pleasure, I treasure. Thank you for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. This podcast is produced by Pod Edits. Visit podedits.com for professional podcast publishing.